All right, so we'll go ahead and get started in about a minute or two. We got about 20 people right now, so waiting for a couple more people to join. I just typed something in the chat. Hopefully everybody can see that. If you have any questions throughout this whole thing, go ahead and feel free to ask in the chat. Like I said, my message, I'll try my best to answer them as we go if I see them pop up. But sometimes when I'm sharing the screen, it doesn't, like the chat doesn't come up at the same time. So if I happen to miss your question, I'll go through them all at the end, answer them one by one, just in case it doesn't happen to get answered mid-presentation, basically. I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen so I can give you guys the presentation. Cool. Give me just a sec. All right, sorry about that. Still trying to figure out Zoom now, but it should be able to share my screen again, and then we'll be all good to go. Okay, perfect. All right. Cool. All right, so I hope everybody can see my screen. I believe you guys should be able to. Like I said, I can't see the chat right now, so if you guys have any questions while we're going along, like I said, ask them in chat. I'll answer them all at the end, but we'll go ahead and get started. So thank you guys again for being here. I'm going to be talking about some of the main differences in VYVL. I'm just kind of talking more about it and the differences in VYVL and our other programs, like our travel program, even our junior league, kind of some of the differences between that. So let's go ahead and get started. My name is Brendan Jump. I am the Developmental Programs Manager here at RBC. I'm in charge of VYVL, BYDL. I help out with Junior League, and I'm also in charge of our 4v4 development program this past summer, as well as our beach program. So if you guys have done any of those programs in the past, it's likely you got an email from me. If you have any questions about those programs as well, feel free to reach out anytime. My email, bjump@rbc.net. Any travel questions? Again, we're going to be talking about some of the main differences in the VYVL program and travel. So if you guys have any travel related questions, even tryouts, dates, stuff like that, feel free to reach out to Chris Wakefield. That's cwakefield@rbc.net. So what is BYDL? What is VYVL? Basically, I'll let you guys read this nice and simple. It's our developmental programs. In my eyes, it's a step up from our junior league and almost kind of an introduction to our travel program in a way. Like, even though they are different programs, VYVL and travel, you could almost consider it a fifth kind of travel team in terms of skill and kind of overall play level. It is a different program, but like I said, skills very similar. A lot of the teams actually end up scrimmaging together. Some of the 14 regional, some of those kids and our VYVL teams end up scrimmaging before tournaments. So like I said, it's definitely a different program, and we'll talk more about the specific differences in a second. But as far as talent level teams go, especially at the 13s and 14s age group, it's a lot closer than it is potentially in the 15s, 16s. Obviously, if a kid's been playing on the 14 national team, the 15 national team, and then the 16 national team, they obviously might be in a better spot than a kid who's maybe getting into it for the first time or on a regional team. But as far as differences between a regional travel team and a VYVL team, I think skill-wise, overall, they are very close to the same, and you can almost consider it a fifth-tier travel team. So, like I said, some of the main comparisons I have in mind, you guys can read through all these on the screen. The main kind of points we'll talk about is the length of the season. So 18 versus 26 weeks, obviously. Our season ends with our final tournament in early April, and travel tournaments, last tournament is May, basically Memorial Day weekend, so very late May. So travel goes on through then. Both practices start at the same time. So December 1st, I believe, which is that Sunday, that first Sunday. So both travel and VYVL will start the same exact day this year, basically. The difference in training, obviously, we do one practice per week with a bi-weekly Sunday practice. We aim for bi-weekly just due to availability of the gym, stuff like that. We weren't able to get every other week, but pretty close to it. And all of those are available on our calendar. And I'll walk you guys through the website calendar in just a second after talking about some more of these differences. Obviously, VYVL plays in slightly less tournaments. We did 2 in Richmond, 2 in Virginia Beach, while the regional state level girls and boys both do 7 to 10 tournaments across that 26-week season. And most of those are also fairly local, or at least within 2.5 hour drive. I think the farthest regional goes would be the boys, and they go to Rocky Mount, North Carolina, which I believe is about a 2 hour, 15-minute drive from Richmond. So I think that's the farthest regional goes. So pretty comparable for that. The bigger difference is the price, obviously. So with the longer season, with more training per week and more tournaments, obviously travel is going to be a little bit more expensive. But this definitely isn't to say one program is better than the other. I think, again, like we just talked about with the talent level, they're fairly comparable. And I think it's all just about what's important to you all. So if you're kind of an athlete getting into volleyball, or this is your first time taking that maybe jump up, you want to get into that travel level, or just at least a higher training, a more regular training schedule with competing in tournaments. And maybe you play another sport, you have other time commitments, or you just don't want to drop a bunch of money at once for the season. I think VYVL will be potentially perfect for you. However, if you want maybe a couple more weeks of training, more tournaments are important to you, and you're willing to spend a little bit more money to get some more stuff, I think travel regional level will be absolutely perfect for you. The main difference is in what's included is the travel gets basically more stuff for their uniforms. They might even get 3 jerseys, but I think regional could get 2. I might be wrong about that, so my apologies. But either way, you get more stuff. I technically think you get a USAV membership, although again, I could be wrong on that. All I know is basically very, very comparable, especially with the pricing of the tournaments we do. So it's all a matter of what's more important to you, what you're looking for in the season. So the season structure, basically the next part is VYVL teams all on Monday nights, same as last year. Your team can either practice 5:15 to 7 or 7:15 to 9. Those times aren't finalized for teams quite yet. Hopefully we'll get that posted on the website, or at least by the time tryouts roll around, you'll know, and coaches will know which times their teams practice. BYDL Friday nights, those are always going to be 7:15 to 9. That's the same time we did last year. We do that so if we have numerous BYDL teams, we're able to keep them together in that time slot, potentially practicing together, or at least kind of working on the same group of stuff. The season will be run obviously from December 1st to April 6th, like I said. Now I will walk you guys through our website. So all that's available, all the stuff I'm about to talk about, rvc.net/BYVL. And obviously if you're boys, that would be rvc.net/BYDL. But that should take you to this main page here. Obviously we have our VYVL info meeting. Hopefully you guys signed up through this or the email. And then you'll notice the registration right here. We'll go through that process a little bit later, but what we're looking at right now is the overall season calendar. So like I mentioned, December 1st would be our first Sunday practice. You'll notice they say skills clinic. We're changing the name of those actively. Those are Sunday practices, but we work on a little more skill specific stuff during those practices. But these are basically all the dates for the season. I believe, yep, these are all up to date as well. So we have our tournament schedule down here. Again, 2 tournaments at RVC, 2 tournaments in Virginia Beach. You'll notice we have one-day tournament here, one-day tournament in Virginia Beach, and then 2 two-day tournaments, 1 in each spot, basically. So RVC will be hosting a 2-day tournament, March 22nd, 23rd. And then, like I said, our final tournament will be in Virginia Beach, April 5th and 6th on that one. And again, all this available, rvc.net/BYVL, and you can just go down here to the season calendar part. While I'm at it, I'll go ahead and talk about this. There's going to be 6 teams basically this season. We have a 16s team, a 15s team, and then we're going to have 2 14s and 2 13s teams. So when you guys, basically after tryouts, the 13s and 14s especially, you guys will receive an offer that says you've been offered a spot on, if it's 14 red, we'll say you've been offered on 14 red, and so on and so on. But basically that's just letting you guys know the teams we have. I had a few questions in my emails about, are we going to have a 17s team? Not likely. We're not going to have a 17s team for VYVL. The highest we go is 16s. However, for BYDL, we are looking at making 2 teams ideally. And ideally, in my mind, that would be a 14s team and a 16s team, kind of like a U14 and a U16. However, just knowing what I know we have numbers-wise, it may, for BYDL, end up being a 16s team and potentially a 17s team. But that's just for BYDL for the boys. For the girls, the highest we go is 16 years old for the teams. All right, back into it. So talking about some of the main coaching and player development stuff we do here at VYVL. Also, it's very similar to travel. Like I mentioned, we have some very experienced coaches. This isn't just kind of like our intro group, like some of our other programs may be, where it's newer coaches, or potentially like our camps where it's some former players just coming to play or coming to coach. These ones are experienced high school coaches, a wealth of knowledge. We have high school coaches, former high school coaches. I'm very actually proud of the lineup we were able to get this year and last year, even for VYVL coaches. So it's something definitely want to emphasize on as well. Again, overall player development, that's something since taking over the program It's been very, very big to me in general. Every player at every skill learns every position, everything, period, basically. I don't believe in if you're a tall 14-year-old girl, you should be stuck in the middle or stuck in this one position. I think you should be able to play whatever position you're best at, and at the very, very least, learn every skill so you're able to play every position, even if it's not potentially the best. And then obviously that's our 13th, 14th teams. We're going to have a real big emphasis on that overall idea and just getting more players reps at different positions. However, for our 15th to 16th team, we're still really going to focus on that. And I believe in that in general. However, by that age, it might be a little more positional, different kind of structure. Obviously, the goals are a little bit different once you get to that higher age group, but 13s and 14s, almost going to be, there's going to be positions, but practice wise, everybody's going to learn every skill fairly equally. And like I mentioned, our Sunday practices, we used to call them clinics just because they focus on a little more individual skill development, or they can be used as a makeup team practices. Last year we had to cancel, I think we had really bad rain one time and then maybe snow. So a couple times like that where we can just use it as a makeup practice. However, those Sunday, like I said, ours focused more individualized skills for the 15, 16s group. Like I mentioned, though they might split off into different positional type stuff. So setters, middles go this spot. And I think we'll even talk about a little bit more on that later in the slide as well. And for tournament, you'll notice here, teams of 16 with 2 coaches. Obviously, that's a little bit bigger than normal, which is like travel side, which is 12 players, 2 coaches. The reason we do this is so we can maximize play time for our athletes in tournaments. Getting 2 teams of 8 for each tournament, basically splitting that one team off, 2 teams of 8. So one coach goes with one group, the other coach goes with the other group. Those are split off equally in terms of talent, stuff like that. And again, just to maximize playing time, make sure everybody's getting the same opportunity to play. And again, more touches is my belief in general. More touches will just make you better as a player. So the main cost, like we talked about, $12.50 for the season. It's a jump up from last season, but we're also adding a lot more stuff. Players and parents are getting a lot more value for what they're getting, including the AAU membership, including an extra tournament, a new jersey package, getting a backpack, just kind of stuff like that. Upgrading the program, making the players, again, really a true intro almost to the world of travel volleyball. It's not a travel program, but really introducing and kind of helping players get adjusted to that a little bit. And so again, we'll talk about all the things we include here. AAU membership is a thing new to this year. Last year, trying to sign up for the Virginia Beach tournament, there were some delays and stuff like that. So this season, we're just going to take care of it all for every player in the program, make it easier on ourselves and you guys as well. Again, that does not include any travel costs when we have to go to Virginia Beach. The gas, if you have to stay in a hotel, meals, anything like that, RVC does not cover, but we do cover coach's salary, coach travel expense, stuff like that. So you guys won't have to worry about anything extra on top of what you'll already pay with that $12.50, plus again a $75 tryout fee that you pay when you register for tryouts. And again, that first payment due is December 15th. I'm sorry, the first payment is due when you accept a spot on the team. So after tryouts, once you get that first email, the registration will more or less cost $625. So you register for that. And once that's paid, you basically reserve the spot on your team. You're all set until the season starts more or less. And then that second payment will come out December 15th or due by December 15th. So 2 payment option. I believe you could be able to pay it in full if you preferred that. I'll double check. If any of you guys prefer to pay in full, basically shoot me an email and I can get back to you with a certain answer on that. But I believe the way we have currently set up is 2 payment method. And then the tryout process, we'll talk about this real quick and then I'll walk you guys through the website to actually go through the tryout process. So again, players playing VYVL both this year and last year need to attend tryouts, need to attend a PTO. In years past, I believe VYVL has been basically you sign up and you can play. The past 2 years, it's been a little different. We're trying to, again, up the competitiveness, up the kind of training factors that we're doing, and that's part of it. So players wanting to play VYVL or BYDL will need to attend a PTO or pre-tryout orientation, as well as their age groups tryout. And also players playing trying out for state and regional will be asked as they arrive to tryouts if they would also like to be still considered for the VYVL or BYDL program. And again, this does not guarantee a spot, but it guarantees that we will look at them. If they don't make a travel team, we can at least have them on our list as interested in potentially playing for VYVL. So just keep that in mind. You'll have the option if you'd like to switch after the first day of trials, just come up to us. If you know you want VYVL or BYDL and you know you don't want a travel team, try and tell us that as early as possible. Shoot me an email if you'd like. But yeah. So we'll go ahead and walk you guys through the website like I mentioned. So again, we can get everywhere basically from this rvc.net/BYVL page, take us to the home page. This has the registration, like I mentioned, for tryouts. This one will be that $75 fee that comes with all the admin fees, as well as a t-shirt, as well as the tryout time you actually get. So $75 for the registration is the main button to register. If you want more information, which again, you need information, it is on this main website. So we did this to really make it as easy as possible, so you don't have to go through the travel section to try and find information on the tryouts. So here it is. We basically, as I mentioned, players have to attend a PTO. So these are the different dates we have coming up. Again, we just had one today, actually, 1:30 to 3:30 today. Our next one will be next Sunday, August 25th, same time, 1:30 to 3:30. And then the last one will be, I believe that's a Wednesday, September 4th, 1 to 6. That September 4th one is the last one before the 15s and the 16s tryout. So preferably, if you guys know you're trying out for the 15s, 16s age group, try not to wait last minute to come to that one, because that's the one I will say most people come. So maybe aim for that next Sunday one if you're able. And as it mentions here as well, you can come anytime within the listed hours. It does not take the entire time at all. Longest I've ever seen a kid be here is, I'd say, 15-20 minutes max, and that's only because he had basically 2 siblings playing as well. So it's a very easy process. You come, try on some stuff if you need to try on, like jerseys, jacket, warm-up, stuff like that, so we know your sizes for the season, as well as talk to you about kind of financial process, stuff like that. So everybody needs to attend a PTO before their tryout dates. Again, registration right here is another spot, and the actual tryout dates are here. So this specific Zoom meeting is probably most applicable to the 15s and 16s age group. Again, their tryouts are September 7th and 8th, so coming up relatively soon for that one. And again, trials for the 16s age group will be 11:30 to 2, and the 15s age group will be after that, 3 o'clock to 5:30. And all tryouts are at our Stonebridge location. That's at 200 Carl Lynn Drive. And all of our pre-tryout orientations are at our Bird Hill location. That is 2921 Bird Hill Road. So yeah, and as it mentions down here, it's all the same exact dates, same times, except they are different tryouts. So players will be evaluated differently in different groups. So there won't ever be a situation where there's a 16 national group along with the VYVL 15s group. There won't ever be a situation like that. Keep them separately. Again, I think we do that for the fairness of the actual kind of watching them play, seeing how the tryout goes. All right, so we'll get back to that presentation. Only got a couple more things to talk about before we open the floor to questions. So parent involvement, main communication is a question I got a lot of times last year. Just kind of questions about who communicates what. I'd like to talk about that right now. So most of the main important information, whether that means a tournament coming up, whether your first practice is coming up, anything kind of along those lines where admin or the club should be communicating to you guys past just a day-to-day communication like you might have with your coach. So preseason, leading up to the season, basically all the way up until the very first practice, you're going to be hearing mostly from me. So keep an eye out for emails from me, messages from me, stuff like that. At the first practice, your coach will likely set up a messaging app. A lot of times we use GroupMe. I personally use GroupMe for my teams. It's a very easy way. And that is, like I mentioned, kind of with a day-to-day communication. So if you have to miss a practice or miss a tournament, you have a question about something, you can feel free to reach out to the head coach or assistant coach, basically one of the 2 coaches on the team, through that messaging app. And if they're comfortable, they can do email. However, anything you feel may be above the coach, whether it's a potential complaint or a program issue, or even just a question you think the coach might not have answers to, feel free to reach out to me directly on that. I'll also be at basically every single practice. So if you guys ever want to come in the building, get a question in person, I can absolutely help you out with that as well. But parents in the building, on to the next point. Parents are unfortunately not allowed in the gym for our VYVL and BYDL practices. We do this to make sure athletes can stay focused, as well as the same thing we do for travel. So travel, they're also not allowed in the gym. So for some of our other programs, like our junior league, jump in juniors, some of those programs, parents are allowed and almost encouraged to stay and watch sometimes. However, in the training environments of travel and VYVL, parents are unfortunately not allowed in the gym. You can definitely come in, use the restroom, get water. We have vending machines. If you want a snack or whatever, feel free to come in for a little bit. However, if the person at the front desk or facility monitor notices you're in the gym a little longer than potentially should be or need to be, you may be asked politely to leave the building. A lot of parents end up just sitting outside sometimes. They'll go to the Kroger, get some groceries right in that shopping center, or they'll go across the street to the Panera Just kind of relax, sit around the time. Some of them go home if you live close enough to Stonebridge. We basically have a good amount of options on that. And for tournaments, parent attendance is allowed, encouraged, all and every tournaments. Basically, like I mentioned before, tournaments, I'll be sending you information on seating, entry, all the information you guys will need. But parents, grandparents, siblings, friends, all absolutely welcome to come out and encourage their teammates or their friends for all the tournaments. And for those 2-day tournaments I mentioned, especially the one in Virginia Beach, and likely the 2-day we'll host in Richmond, you'll need to go online or sometimes in person at the front door. They'll have tickets available for purchase, basically. And kind of just finishing up with some frequently asked questions, just in case I did not hit on anything. So how are players chosen? Overall skill and ability, they are chosen mainly by their coach. So their coaches will be at tryouts. However, I will be around as well to help kind of moderate everything and make sure the right players are getting chosen for the right positions. But yeah, chosen on overall skill, any mental attributes. If a player has a great attitude, great teammate, will be a lot more likely to be taken, obviously. And like I mentioned, for the 15-16s age group, it's a little more specific in terms of team goals and overall program goals. So those ones will be more selected based on position versus kind of just overall skill, athleticism, ability, like our 13s and 14s may be. Now, in the Sunday practices, like I mentioned, they're a little more clinic-based. They're still considered a practice. So last year there was some problems, not a problem, maybe a misconception where we call them Sunday skills clinic. And so people kind of assumed it's just a clinic. It's an optional type thing we don't need to go to. It's just there if we want it. However, definitely, I think it could have helped out a lot more. And I'd like to see this year players add a lot more. So while nothing's truly mandatory, we can't force you guys to go to anything. We definitely encourage every athlete to attend every possible opportunity. And as well as on the Sundays, all their coaches will be there. So I'm sure their coaches will expect, or at least hope, their team will be there as well to kind of all learn the same thing at the same rate. I think that has a large benefit for the program and teams in general. Just kind of coming to every opportunity possible to practice. What is the player to coach ratio? Again, it is 16 athletes, 2 coaches, and for tournaments, splitting off into 2 teams of 8, a coach for each team, basically. And so for practices, the way we adjust around having so many athletes on a court, not only do we kind of base our specific drills around more touches for each player, so a lot more a lot more player-based drills where players are entering balls, entering down balls, even just tossing a ball versus a coach. So coaches are able to kind of walk around more efficiently, give feedback to players versus just running the drill themselves the whole time while 16 players are waiting in one line. So that's one thing we really do our best to avoid. Again, with 16 players, it's much more important to get that many more touches on the ball. So that's a thing we are big at practice and kind of playing around as well. What is the refund policy? In terms of a season-ending injury at almost any date, you will be eligible for a refund. Again, depending on the scenario specifics, you may be eligible for a full or partial refund. So first step on that, as soon as something happens, shoot an email out to me. Just kind of let me know the situation, and we'll be more than willing to work with you from there. It won't ever be a kind of set in stone no or anything like that. We'll absolutely work with you depending on the scenario. And then lastly, can my athlete participate in other sports and activities while in the program? Yes, 100%. So a big reason I talked about, a big purpose of VYVL is to be that entry or even as a less committed, less financially committed as well option for athletes who potentially play a high school sport, whether that's basketball or that's soccer in the spring, whatever they play. VYVL is perfect if they also want to keep training volleyball, keep playing that potentially in the fall time next season. And so again, with practices Monday for VYVL, Friday for BYDL, we avoid most high school game days, Tuesdays and Thursdays, sometimes even Wednesdays. So it almost works out perfectly. And again, even if you have to miss a couple practices, a tournament or whatever due to these prior commitments, or just in general, something comes up, definitely let the coach know, like I mentioned with the group me, kind of whatever communication you and the main coaches have set up, that's probably the best one. So just make sure you let them know in advance, probably a week or two more if you know. It'll definitely help them out as well. But yes, we absolutely encourage and welcome multi-sport athletes. So I will try to find the chat. Like I said, I'm still learning. All right, I found the chat. So I'm going to go along one by one and try to answer these questions. And like I said, if you guys have any other questions to ask that I haven't talked about or somebody else hasn't asked yet, feel free to ask in the chat. I will start working down from the top. So if a player is 10 years old, will she be allowed to higher age level? I'm sorry, there's a bubble on my way. as pure skill. So yes, if a player is 10 years old trying out for this program, they're good enough to make the 13th team or potentially even higher, they'll absolutely be offered a spot. So if there's a very good 8-year-old that tries out for our program, we'll be absolutely more than willing to take them as well. So 10 years old shouldn't be an issue. I wouldn't recommend, obviously, if you are an 8-year-old trying out for a 13th team. However, if you think talent-wise you're there, you're absolutely more than welcome. Yeah. So then the next one we move on to 13 and loves it, playing fall of the school, wants to play competitively in the spring. How hard is it to make one of the two 13 VYVL teams? I will say at the 13s group, it's not extremely competitive. Obviously, that's almost everybody's first year getting into volleyball. It's pretty rare that I believe we have a 12s travel team, but only one. So it's not like there will be too much competition for what teams to make. We also offer, I believe, 3 levels of a 13s team for travel. So just depending on how much numbers we have, will depend how competitive it is. But again, at the 13s age group, I can't imagine it'll be too competitive. So your odds of making a VYVL 13s team are pretty decent, I will say. Yeah. So what times are practices on Sunday? So our Sunday Sunday practices will be 4:15 to 6. We basically have our boys program in the gym from 2 to 4, more or less. So 4:15 to 6. So that's actually I'll make a note down right now. We can post the times to the website too. It's a good point. So yeah, we can actually upload those times on Sunday just so everybody knows at least the range of what time they could be practicing from. But yeah, Sundays will be 4:15 to 6 for all BYDL and VYVL practices. They will go at the same time. The location of the practices will be at our Stonebridge location, like I mentioned. So tryouts and all practices will be at our Stonebridge location. That's 200 Carl Lynn Drive. While I mentioned the tryouts are at Bird Hill. So all practices, tryouts are at Stonebridge. The PTO is here. So that's the only thing you'd have to do here is the pre-tryout orientation. What is the age range to consider for BYDL for boys younger than 14? I generally aim, again, if we're making a U14, which is my goal in mind, it would be players potentially 12, 13, and 14 years old. Again, kind of like we mentioned with that first question, if there's an 11-year-old that's willing and able to play up to terms of skill level, stuff like that, then they're absolutely welcome in the program as well. We actually had a 11-year-old on my 14 travel this past year, did a great job, learned a lot from it. So I definitely think playing up is a good way to get good exposure at the skill as well. So I would say absolute youngest for BYDL, just recommended in terms of overall athleticism for boys. I would say youngest 11 if you're open to the challenge and would already consider yourself maybe there. If not, I definitely say 12, 13, 14. So mentioned jumping juniors, something else for starter, intro to volleyball. 12-year-old daughter did jumping juniors. Is there anything between jumping juniors and VYVL for her? So yeah, we actually offer something called Junior League. That's actually our most popular program by number. It's basically our rec league. Again, perfect opportunity to move up from jumping juniors. We actually offer, so if she's 12 years old, I believe that would be a 5th and 6th grader. I might be wrong on that, but we offer a junior league, 5th and 6th league, where they play on a smaller court, basically 4v4 to maximize the reps they get on the ball. And then we have a junior league for 7th through 12th graders that play 6-on-6. Again, both of those are available and perfect for that step up. Or if you don't have a high school team to play for, our fall junior league is coming up, and I can actually share that information with you guys as well. So same thing, you can go to rbc.net and find the junior league tab, or you could even go to rbc.net/junior league. Again, all our websites and pages are fairly easy to navigate. So that's rbc.net/junior league, and you'll see all that information here. So again, 5th and 6th. So 5th and 6th leagues, you can either practice on Monday nights or Sunday mornings. And for that 7th through 12th league, you can either practice Tuesday nights or Sunday mornings. And the practices for that league, Mondays and Tuesdays at Stonebridge, and then all Sundays will be at Bird Hill for our junior league. So you see that, again, the registration all available at that same spot, basically. All right. I think, let me read through one more time, but I think I might have touched on everything. Again, if you guys have any last minute questions, feel free to shoot an email here. Email to me. You can shoot another message before we end this meeting officially. I'll try and touch on it. But then we'll go ahead and go into the very last slide for y'all. Let me just pull that up. Okay. All right. So thank you guys all for attending again. I see one more question, so I'll get to two more questions. I'll get to those in just a sec after this last one. Again, feel free to reach out to me if I didn't cover anything or there's a question you don't feel like asking or don't feel comfortable asking in the meeting chat. Feel free to shoot me an email. I'll do my best to email you before I leave today, or worst case, tomorrow morning, I can get back to you. And again, if you have any travel questions, anything even about the tryouts, anything basically I, as a VYVL representative, couldn't help you with, you can feel free to reach out to Chris about that. cwakefield@rbc.net. Important dates, next steps. You got to register for tryouts, like I mentioned. Half the battle right there is registering and attending a PTO. Again, this meeting is more specifically for these 15s, 16s age group. I'll do one more meeting likely before our 14s and 13s tryouts. So I'll have more basically up-to-date PTO, stuff like that for those age groups. However, for the 15s and 16s, these are the most relevant dates for you. So again, this next Sunday, upcoming Sunday, 1 to 3:30, or the very last opportunity you have before the 15s and 16s tryouts will be that one on September 4th, 1 to 6 p.m. Again, both those are Bird Hill, and all tryouts are at Stonebridge. And again, 15s and 16s, that's the 7th and 8th of September. Let me get to the last of the chat questions. Like I said, if you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask it right now in the chat or shoot me an email, completely up to you guys. If there are not enough players for BYDL U14 boys, when will we be notified? Last year was very late. So basically, day of tryouts, we'll be able to have a much better grasp of what teams will be able to do as far as BYDL and even travel. I will say on the boys side, it is a lot harder to kind of prepare because for some reason, boys love waiting until the very, very last moment to register and do stuff like that. So that's part of it. How we just don't know sometimes until the day of tryouts, and even sometimes day of tryouts, we'll have kids growing up still trying to register. So for boys, I wish I could promise that we would have a for sure date to get it out to you by. Unfortunately, until the first day of tryouts, we might not know. But it basically, as soon as I know, I will shoot out everybody who tried out. Basically, anybody who's looking for that BYDL 14s team, or basically any age in general that we're not able to potentially field a team for, or just any age group that needs more information based on what we have, you'll get that as soon as possible. And then, do you have any other boys only opportunities outside BYDL? So this past year, we had a boys junior league team. However, after talking to most of their parents, a lot of their parents, the only reason they ended up signing and doing that is because they didn't know about BYDL. Like I mentioned, for boys, it's just a lot less popular on the boys side than it is for girls. So if we're able to make a boys junior league, which is currently the plan for our winter and spring seasons, not our fall season, just due to numbers, but since our winter and spring season are so popular, the plan and the goal is to be able to make at least 2, potentially 3 junior league boys teams. However, again, there's all different purposes. I think junior league would be a great rec opportunity if you're just looking to just play with some friends or whatever. However, if you're looking to kind of develop for your high school potentially, or just in general, again, take that leap up to the next level from junior league or from a camp level, I really believe BYDL would be the best option. However, again, it all kind of, even to travel, it all depends on what you're looking for, what's important to you in the season, in the program. But yeah, I think that is everything. I don't see any more questions out right now. Again, if you guys have any questions at all about anything, even if it's a silly little question, takes 2 seconds, feel free to shoot me an email, bjump@rbc.net. I'll be more than happy to help you guys. But with that, again, tryouts, PTO, next steps, let me know if you have anything, and I will go ahead and get you guys out of here. Thank you guys all for attending. I really appreciate it. Like I said, we'll do one more meeting before the 14th tryouts. This should also be recorded. So if you guys potentially have somebody else you know is interested in getting information on VYVL, BYDL, feel free to shoot me an email, have them shoot me an email, and hopefully I can get them that link sent out to this recording even, so they could potentially see the same exact information, or they could just ask me what they need to ask me. But yeah, feel free to reach out, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Goodbye. Thank you for being here.